My 17-year-old, the kid is so frugal to save money. He'll do anything.
I don't want to have to pay gas.
He fills up his car once a month. That's his goal. So he'll drive to and from school. Everything else, he's in the car with one of his friends, or somebody's driving him somewhere. And I'm like even if we have to go like 15 miles to like the next town over to get him like a new pair of shoes, like, hey man, go ahead and go grab your shoes. And he'd be like, can someone come with me? And I'm like, do you really need someone to come with you? He's like, yeah. And will you drive me too? And I'm like, so here's the funny thing. We don't fight him on that because it's really endearing to us, because I'm just the fact that like, he's going to be gone in 15 months. He's gonna be forced to do that stuff, and he'll be doing that stuff all day long. We only have like this super short window where a 17-year-old boy still wants to be driven with his parents because he wants the conversation and he wants the company most of all. He doesn't, and he doesn't want to pay for gas.
We believe that you are strong by design, and you were made in God's image to have a strong body, mind, and spirit. You're listening to the #1 strength and health authority podcast in the world. So let's get ready to unlock your potential and transform your life in today's episode. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode here on the Strong by Design podcast. So happy you've joined us today. Co-hosting today, Mr. Jared Haley, and
What's
he
up?
brought his hair.
I did. Every time. Everywhere I go. Comes with
It's
me.
there. Yeah, sometimes it's covered up with the hat, you know, like Larry
true.
and I. We got the hats on today, but you're letting it full mane. There you go. All right, I'll take
Yep.
mine off. I got hat head.
Yep.
But you got full Jared hair going on.
Yep. It's happening.
Lovely. Great job. And
Took a shower today.
Took a shower. I mean, everything's working
Styled
out.
it.
Thank you. That's enough detail. I don't
Clean clothes.
Okay, stop.
Okay.
All right, so we have a special guest today joining us. It's not just Jared and I. We have our good friend Larry Hagner, the Dad Edge voice, is on the podcast. He is on a mission to help men live legendary lives. Larry Hagner is the founder of the Dad Edge podcast. It's a global movement and top-rated podcast inspiring fathers to lead with purpose, with strength, and connection. And he was on the show. We went back and looked. It was almost like 5 years ago. It was in 2020. So it's been a minute. And so it's awesome to reconnect with Larry. So thank you so much for making time for us today, buddy.
Dude, well, first of all, this is such an honor. I feel like I get to be in the presence of old friends. I loved coming on the podcast 5 years ago. I can't believe it's been 5 years ago.
I know.
And another thing too, we're recording right now in April, and April 15th, Dad Edge the podcast just turned 10 years old. So
Holy crap.
I think
Wow.
both of us have like aging podcasts. Like we're I think the anomalies that are out there, like the 1%ers that last pretty long.
100%, dude. Even you more so than us. That 10 years is really fantastic. Once this airs, we'll have gone into our 8th season and hit past 7 years, and it really has gone by quickly. But 10 years, you're a dinosaur in podcast land.
I know, right?
People don't last that long, man.
They don't.
Nope.
Wow. So this is fabulous. So excited. Jared and I got together and came up with a bunch of talking points. So we hopefully you have a glass of water and you're ready to go, because
Ready to go.
we got a lot to throw your way, man. As you've been a dad for a while, you have don't you have 4 boys, if I remember right?
Carry the one. Yes,
Wait, am
4.
I off?
No, 4. That's 4. I have 4 boys.
It is 4 boys.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know I didn't look, because I'm like, I got to go from memory with people that I know. I can't just be looking up everyone's bio every 5 seconds. I'm like, I'm pretty sure Larry has 4 kids and they're all boys. And I know that a few of them are getting up there in age. And I wanted to know, as they've gotten older, because Jared and I are
70s and 80s now. Really
if
getting
that's
up
the
there.
case, Larry's really looking good. What's this season of your life as dad look like right now with older boys? And if you could just talk through their ages, because Jared and I, we have kids, but they're younger. My oldest is 13. His oldest is 13. Like it's a little different.
It's crazy, man. So I started Dad Edge / Good Dad Project back in 2012. So I started the movement, but it was more of like a hobby at the time. I didn't get really serious with it until 2015. But when I first started, my oldest was 6 and I only had 2 boys. They were 6 and 4. And it spurred out of a really horrible moment. Not nothing I'm proud of, but I ended up, my 4-year-old, who's now 17, he stepped out of line. I spanked him. And unfortunately, I spanked him so hard he hit the ground. And I am insanely not proud of that. It was a promise that I made to myself because I grew up in a really, really chaotic childhood environment and just absolute madness when it came to father figures and toxicity and abuse and all that good stuff. But I told myself, I was like, I promised myself, I was like, I'm never going to hit my children out of anger. I'm going to be a good husband and I am going to be a good father. And I failed all 3 of those promises. I was just falling into like I would call the normalcy of frustrating fatherhood where you just don't know what you're doing. So I started it as a Facebook page back in 2012 because that's where I was. And where I'm at now, it's kind of crazy to even think of that. My 6-year-old is 19 now, and the one I spanked is 200 pounds and captain of the football team and the center on the offensive line. And the kid could literally decimate me with one hit because he's done it. He's so strong. He's got 28-inch thighs. I wouldn't mess with him to save my life now. But where am I at in that season? I've got an 11-year-old too. I also have a 9-year-old. And here's the season we're in now. We've got one graduating high school in a month. He's going to go to paramedic school. He's going to be a firefighter. Oh, wow. I've got another one that's leaving the nest. The first one, my 17-year-old, he's leaving the nest. He's going to be heading to University of Arkansas in not this year, but next. So we're knocking on the doorstep of 15 months away from him leaving, which I got to be honest with you, man. Like it is not sitting well with me. It's kind of ripping my heart out, to be honest with you. But I also know it's a necessary evil. He's got to go. But that is absolutely the season we're in right now.
Wow. What's that make you think about, Jared?
So we have some apartment buildings that are being built right across from where our townhomes are. So our 13-year-old's always saying how that's where he wants to move to so that he can have his own space, but at least he's still close. But then I think about us. I was living in Ireland for a while, lived in Iowa. Now we're in Florida, and all of our family's still back in Colorado. So can only imagine how my parents are feeling as we have time and time again come home and then ripped ourselves back away and moved across the country. So, I can't imagine. It's scary to think of Ezra. Everywhere that we go right now, he looks up the age that you have to be able to work there. Because some places are 14 and some places are 16 and some places are 18. He's looking at the little brochures. We were at Chipotle last night, and it says apply now, and he's like sitting there looking at the brochure, and I'm like, bro, like you're not old enough yet. But he's just so excited to start to step into some of that stuff. Driving terrifies me, especially up and down. We have this terrible highway, Highway 19. There's terrible highways everywhere, but it's like the main north-south route in Pinellas County. And so I'm like, I can't, like you can do all the right things on that road and still get in a car accident. So it's like just one of those things where trying to sift through them getting older and moving into more of a coaching phase instead of a teaching phase. And so it's a bit wild.
Larry, for you, the driving aspect of parenting, what was that like for your 2 oldest? How did that go down for you?
It was really interesting. Like just to kind of showcase like how you can have 2 of the same people have children and all of them are totally different, right? So like my oldest son, he wasn't really in a rush to get his license. Like he was just kind of like, a lot of my friends drive and school was really close, and I think he actually waited 1 full year until he was 17 to get his license, which was fine. He had his permit and he drove and that kind of thing. My 17-year-old on his 16th birthday wanted to go get it, and he did. So he was just like very bound. But here's the funny thing. So he's got a car, right? And we make our kids pay their own bills, right? They make money. They got to pay for their cell phone. They got to pay for their cars, their insurance, and all that good stuff. My 17-year-old is fascinating to me because my 19-year-old, we'll drive to church as a family, and he'll follow us in his car. And we're like, why don't you just go with us? Well, I like to drive myself. So my 17-year-old, totally different story. Like, the kid is so frugal to save money. He'll do anything.
I don't want to have to pay gas.
He fills up his car once a month. That's his goal. So he'll drive to and from school. Everything else, he's in the car with one of his friends, or somebody's driving him somewhere. And I'm like, even if we have to go like 15 miles to like the next town over to get him like a new pair of shoes, like, hey man, go ahead and go grab your shoes. And he'd be like, can someone come with me? And I'm like, do you really need someone to come with you? He's like, yeah, and will you drive me too? And I'm like, so here's the funny thing. We don't fight him on that because it's really endearing to us, because I'm just the fact that like he's going to be gone in 15 months. He's going to be forced to do that stuff, and he'll be doing that stuff all day long. We only have like this super short window where a 17-year-old boy still wants to be driven with his parents because he wants the conversation and he wants the company most of all. He doesn't, and he doesn't want to pay for gas. But he really does like doing, he likes being in the car with other people. He likes to talk. So like, yeah, all day long we'll do that.
Yeah, don't skip that.
Yeah.
That's the best part, man.
I agree.
Yeah. And we've had some good conversations in the car, one-on-one, or just my wife and I with just the one kid. Sometimes it's hard to get the kids apart, so you can't get those conversations if they're with their sibling. But that's valuable time indeed.
I agree.
Jared and I were curious.
Before you go
okay, all right,
down the plane, sorry, I have a new question. It just came to me. I was curious. So, like, our culture doesn't really have a whole lot of, like, we don't have like a bar mitzvah or any kind of like coming of age man type things. Did you do anything like that with your boys?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I did with the two older ones. Yes. The third one will be going through something as well. So I took each one of them through a rite of passage. So the first one we did the Squire. That's Bedros Koulian's. It's a 15-hour just challenge crucible. It's ran by Navy SEALs and Marine recon, warriors, that kind of thing. It's very militant and it's hard. It's very doable. You can get through it just fine. It's not like they're trying to torture you or kill you. But I took them through that. It was one of the most connecting things I think we've ever done. And we always point back to it for the incredible lessons of what it means to be a man. And I'm not talking about the toxicity of it. I'm talking about like, are you a man of your word? Can you communicate? Right? Do you hold your promises? Right? If you say you're going to do something, do you do it? Those types of things. Right? And then there's obviously some grit and some things built into that. I took Mason, my 17-year-old, on a different type of rite of passage called Dangerously Good Men. And it was a client of mine named Bill Winchester. We actually helped him create that business because he had a real passion for it. And he was one of our clients in Dad Edge in the boardroom, which is our business mastermind. And we helped him create this program. And man, he did such a good job with it. So much so I was like, dude, I want to take my kid through this. And we did. It was a whole weekend up in the Oregon mountains. It was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
I feel like I saw you post about that years back. It probably was, this would have been what, 4 or 5 years ago maybe when you did it, or less?
For Ethan, the Squire was 3 years ago, 2022. And then Mason was the following year in 2023.
How old were they?
So one of those I remember seeing on social.
You
must have posted about it.
Ethan was 17. Mason was 15 or 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's right up my alley. It's something I'd like to do, some kind of physical challenge that's requires some work to prepare for. And then, like as you said, the same word I like to use here, so does Mike, is grit, because that's such a valuable characteristic for men to have, to be gritty.
Can I share one evolution in that I think might really hit home? So they take you through several evolutions, because it's ran by SEALs, and so they consider every challenge an evolution, and you're going to learn something from it. The very first, I'll tell you two. The very first evolution was they were yelling at us. They're like, "All right, here's what you're going to do first," and we didn't know. It was actually a test in leadership and communication. Had no clue because we had just gotten there. Yeah. So the first thing they do is they're like, "Okay, We went through some PT. They warmed us up, all that good stuff. And they're like, all right, see these bags? You're going to fill them up with sand. You're going to run down that way for a mile. Then you're going to empty them. Then you're going to grab the shovels that are down there. You're going to refill them, come back, run back. And then you're going to grab something heavy, and then you're going to walk down there and back. And it was basically like a 25-minute, 30-minute evolution. I mean, it was like carrying heavy stuff for like almost 3 miles. And we got back, and what I did is what a lot of other dads did. I was like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And I was just pointing and basically barking orders, like this is what we're going to do. And then we came back, and the first thing they asked us, they're like, so what was the communication like? Were you a dad that barked orders, or were you a dad that empowered your son to lead you? And if so, did he know what he was doing? Did you know what you were doing? Did you know what he was doing? Did you talk about the game plan before you even started, or did you just run and keep going? And we were like, and of course we were like, oh my God, we missed the point. But we didn't, because we learned from it. But the last evolution was probably one of the most powerful. And that is they take you, so you blindfold your son, and then you take him through an obstacle course blindfolded. Ooh. And through the obstacle course, there's all these different things that are going on. There's barbed wire. There's bear traps, real barbed wire, real bear traps. There's things that they can run into. There's things that they can cut themselves on, all different. And they rely solely on you instructing them how to get through it with your voice. You can't touch them, can't do anything. There are people there, like, so if your kid looks like they're about ready to step on a bear trap, of course, we're not going to let that happen. But they're there. But you have to communicate to your son, there's a bear trap 12 inches from your right foot. And if you were looking at a clock, it's at 2 p.m. That's where it's at. So what I need you to do is scoot your feet about 6 to 12 inches to your left, and then start to walk forward. Like, you have to be that specific. Like, it was really glaring. Like, when you thought you were being clear on what you were supposed to do, and then he'd do something else, you're like, because he would take it a different way. Yeah. But the whole evolution was all about how clear are you with communication with your son. And then on the other thing too, it created so much trust in your son, because you are the voice of guidance and peace, and the bear traps and the barbed wire and all these obstacles are supposed to represent drugs, peer pressure, porn, all these different things that these kids can fall into. And it's all about hearing that voice, that father's voice in the darkness of like, son, let me walk you through this. Yeah. I'm a trusted advisor. Let me walk you through this. We constantly point back to that thing. Wow. So good.
That's Love good. That, man. Well, I'll have to get that from you then, because is that something still going on? Is that like an annual thing? Or?
I think Bedros runs like 3 of them a year or so, and they're kind of all over. There's a couple.
I know who Bedros is. I'll have to follow that, and I know I've seen some clips from that. That sounds great, and it's like a 1-day thing.
1 day, yeah. You start at 5:30 in the morning. You're done by 8:30 at night.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's good.
It's good. Wow. It's not impossible. It's doable. It scares a lot of people. I think they see the videos and they're like, I can never do that. You could totally do it.
You know what's funny is, a little side note, my wife and I and the kids, we love watching some of these reality, okay, let me start over. No, we like watching some of these reality shows, the Special Forces one. The Special Forces reality show with like former athletes, professional athletes and actors and actresses. It's a 10-day thing with real British Special Forces, U.S. Special Forces, recon Marines, all this stuff, who are leading this, and they're putting all these people through real trials over a 10-day period, and who's going to last, who's going to make it, who's going to survive. And it's a test. It says world's toughest test. And these people are in search of purpose and of meaning and of pushing the limits after they've had this unbelievable career, and they're 37 years old, looking in the mirror like, do I still have it? Do I still got it? Can I still give 100% into something? And it's actually really fun to watch. Some of these episodes, it's good. It's a good lesson for people to not stop giving 100% at something, and that even if you achieved a very high level of success younger in life, that's not satisfactory for the rest of your life. It's like you have to continue to be able to push the limits, and so it's been really fun. We wanted to know, Jared and I, what are some of your most recent guests that you've just loved, and or it could be a past guest, but who on the Dad Edge podcast in the last couple years has been like a very powerful, inspiring conversation that was a little bit transformative for you?
So I just interviewed Rock Thomas. Do you guys know who he is?
Rock Thomas.
Yeah.
No.
So Rock is a fascinating individual. So if you ever search, he's got an 8-minute YouTube video, I think, that's been viewed like 15 million times or something like that. It's one of the most powerful fatherhood videos I think that's even out there. But what he talks about is, he's 62 years old, very successful, very wealthy, a motivational speaker, and he's written books, and he's a coach, but his story is.
Sorry, I just pulled it up right now.
Yeah, it will literally bring you to your emotional knees. So he talks about how he was raised, in this environment with his dad, where he was one of, I can't remember how many kids, but he always wanted his dad's approval and attention. And his dad was always working and always miserable, like always working, always miserable. Like, do you know how hard it is to work? You know how hard it is to put food on this table? And all he wanted was his dad to play with him. Like, and he literally, like, one time when he was 14 years old, he'd always asked his dad to play with him. His dad always said no. And he went into his dad's office because they had agreed on this day when he was 14 years old that his dad was going to play football with him. He's going to throw the football with him. And there's just all kinds of stories, man, that go into this. Stuff like his dad never came to his hockey games. His dad would wait out in the car and work. And work on stuff in the car, like while his son's playing hockey. Never really showed any interest in wanting anything to do with his kid. And then he finally went to his dad's office. He's like, "Hey, Dad." They're like, hey, man, like, today's the day. Like, can we go out? We go out and play? And his dad erupted and was like, "Play? Like, do you have any idea what you're asking me to do? You know how hard it is to put food on this table?" And then he said it was that moment. I never asked my dad to play again. That was it. And it became, his entire young life became, I am not good enough. And I need to do something to make sure that I'm good enough in this world. And so he decided, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to be an athlete. I'm going to be somebody. And man, this dude made it. And here's the crazy thing. Right before he turned, I think it was 30, his dad came down with cancer. Millions of dollars in the bank, Rock had, all this stuff. And he let it all go to go take care of his dad dying. And he went to his dad who was dying and tried to have a relationship with him as he's losing everything, trying to focus on keeping his dad alive. And he asked his dad, he's like, "Dad, what have I done to make you proud?" And he just said he couldn't wait to hear what his dad said, because up to that point, he had spent like 15 years just crushing life, like absolutely crushing it. And his dad responded with, "Nothing. Nothing. Why would I be proud of you?" Like, I think that was the response that came back. So like that became like literally that man's life. And what did he do with that type of messaging? I couldn't keep a dry eye as I interviewed the guy. It was that moving, his story, and then how he came out of it. So that's definitely number one.
Jeez.
I had John Deloney on, he's one of the guys who I think he's one of the successors for Ramsey Solutions. He wrote a book called Building a Non-Anxious Life. Loved interviewing John. I did interview Kirk Cameron. He was really fascinating. I just love talking to people about their faith. Yeah. Him in particular was amazing. I had John Bernthal, the Punisher, on the podcast. I was also on his show. I'm lucky to say that I've kept in touch with the guy, and he's about as real as you can get. Like, he's got the Real Ones podcast, right? Yes.
And I remember watching an episode of that, gosh, feels like a couple of years ago now, with Shia LaBeouf. And it was a very powerful conversation. And I said, wow, what a great podcast. What a great episode. What a terrific conversation that was like two guys just getting real. And, the Real Ones podcast. The Real Ones, so it was, I definitely would recommend that podcast to just about anybody. He seems like he's just, that's who he is, right? There's no facade there. Seems like a good dude.
He is. Yeah, he really is.
And Kirk, we had Kirk on our show when
Good.
It was like a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
Jared, or so, and he couldn't have been more of a just such a humble, awesome, real dude. We talked about beards and campfires and the craziness of drag queens at Story Hour, and it was it was a heck of a conversation with him.
Yeah, I bet. I love Kirk Cameron. I love his mission and what he does.
What a good dude, man. Good dad too.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, unbelievable role model. Hey, you have this course. You have you probably have more than one course, but you have a course on extraordinary marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Jared wanted to know because he loves all this marriage.
I can tell by Jared.
Is there one or two key principles from that course that you'd be willing to share today with our listeners about? Obviously, you have a successful marriage. So what are a couple quick takeaways that our listeners could benefit from?
It's funny you asked that because I launched that course probably 3 or 4 years ago, and it's done really, really well. People really like it. And because I think it gives you a lot of tactical skills. It's not just airy-fairy, fluffy sort of theory type stuff. It's like, no, this is the real thing, So like, for instance, one of my most favorite skills is what we call the lead model, which is a validation tool. So like, I'll give you an example. When our wives are talking to us, and some of us are just like, well, she's venting. She's venting about her day, or she's just talking or whatever, right? We take that, and we quite frankly don't know exactly what to do with it, and we don't know where it's coming from. And in fact, I think a lot of us will look at it as an opportunity to help, to solve, right? To take away pain, right? All those different things, because we're fixers. And nothing could be further from the truth when it comes to what your wife actually truly wants. She doesn't really want the solutions to her problems. What she really wants is one thing, is connection to you. That's why she's talking to you. So when we try to fix things, or when we're not validating, an emotion. So like, for instance, if my wife comes to me and she's like, you won't believe this horrific thing that just happened. And I'm like, what just happened? She's like, I literally just cut a check for $5,000 for what I thought was their credit card. And it actually went to St. Luke's Hospital as a medical bill. So there's a part of me as a man be like, oh, no big deal. I'll call them. I'll do this. We'll figure it out. Right. Instead, I'm like, oh man, that sounds really, really frustrating. Holy crap. You're probably like on fire right now. Like, tell me what's going on. And then she'll just talk. She'll be like, yeah, I can't believe I freaking did it. I can't believe I did it. Like, I'm not sure what we're going to do. And my response to that is, we'll figure that out. Don't worry. But like, let's talk about this situation a little bit. And she loves that, right? Because that's what women want. They want connection. As soon as we start barreling in with solutions, the message that we're actually sending is, number one, I'm not listening to you because I'm thinking about how to solve this. I'm not listening to you. The second thing that's actually happening, and this one's really sneaky, is the message and ask your wife. She'll tell you. The thing that we're actually doing in that moment is, I don't trust you enough to figure this out on your own. You're a little upset. Let me just show you how to fix this. Okay? It's so condescending. And it's almost like we don't even trust that they will do it. So the good news is this. Through validation, you don't have to work as hard. Through validation, you can get what you've always wanted, which is more intimacy and more connection with your wife. Through validation, you become the most attractive man in the room because you're different than every other man, right? She's not talking to you because she knows how to solve it. She knows she can call St. Luke's Hospital and get this thing straightened out. What she's really looking to do is connect with you on the situation so she feels better about it. That's really it. So the good news is when it comes to validation, when it comes to your wife talking to you, you don't have to solve her problems. Now, I will say this. There are times where she wants solutions. And if you're sniffing that, or if that's what she wants, ask. What I'll do with my wife, and I'll just simply ask, I'll just simply say, hey, just for a second, let's pause for a second. Would you like for me to just listen? Because I'll do that all day long. I'm also here if you want to talk solutions. I just want to make sure that this conversation supports the outcome that you want. Which one feels right to you? Mm-hmm. And she'll tell me. She'll be like, thank you. I just need you to listen. Okay, great. Or actually, thank you. Let me vent, and then we need to figure this out. Okay, cool. I know where we're going. So that is one tool that I think less work for men, more connection with your wife. Yeah.
Yeah, defining the conversation is an important piece, because there's definitely times in our marriage where she is looking for that solution, but even the way that she brings it up feels different. You know,
Right.
when she's looking for a solution, it feels a lot different than if she's just frustrated. And my wife has definitely told me on numerous occasions, like I'm a big girl, I can solve the problem, you know. But that's not. I'm 100% with you on that.
Yeah. I can get better there. I got to see it for what it is. Sometimes my wife's an end of life nurse. So she's, she is basically a hospice nurse. She just doesn't, it's a different service. It's through Accent Care. And so she goes to people's homes and helps them with their, those last days, those last months and weeks of life, which is very emotionally taxing. And sometimes when she comes home, she's in fine spirits, and sometimes I can tell she's had kind of a rougher day, and all she's looking for is just somebody to vent with, and I'm not there to fix any problems. I just need to listen to her, give her some attention for a little while, let it get it out of her system, and I know she'll feel better. But sometimes you're right. I just go to, well, you should just do it like this, or why didn't you do it like this, or what, and I'm trying to fix whatever it is, and it's like I'm just making the problem worse rather than just being a good ear for her, or go give her a hug, for God's sake. That's probably what she wants.
I think we have to figure out how to develop the skill of empathy.
Yeah,
that's what
I think that's something that we, at least for me anyway, I'm not great at it. I'm just not, because I'm always thinking of the practical ends of whatever it is. And I think, she said to me, I just want you to feel what I'm feeling. I want you to be united with me in this feeling. And so I think that's, for a lot of us, that's something that doesn't come naturally. And so even with our kids, right, like with my oldest boy, teaching him how to be empathetic, with how his siblings are feeling or how someone else is feeling. And I just think that that's certainly a skill that we have to invest in and develop.
Yeah,
Totally agree with that.
I'd agree with that.
There's
Jared has 4 children himself, but he has a set of twins in the mix there too, and so that's been
We're 2 and 2 though. We have 2 boys, 4. 2 girls. So
2 boys, 2 girls.
Yeah.
Can I give you guys the one that is one of the most popular skills that's in that thing?
Please.
Okay, and it's not mine, and I'm very clear in the course that this was not something I developed it, and that was the deal when we were taught this skill by clearleadership.com. So go to clearleadership.com. They're the ones that taught us a conflict resolution skill called the cube. So because it's a 4-step process. So this is a skill, by the way, for anybody listening to the podcast. Doesn't matter if you're married, doesn't matter if you have kids. If you're a human being, this is a skill that will set you apart from everyone else, and you will have way more success and fulfillment in your life when it comes to conflict if you use this skill. So how people fight, right, is, and this is great that Jared is the logical one, right? When we fight with our spouse, let's just take our marriage. Logic has now gone out the window. There is no more logic. It is nothing but emotion. And when you're trying to logically navigate through something with emotion, good luck. It ain't going to be pretty, right? And this is why, so for instance, this is why when we disagree with something, we go to our wives and be like, hey, why did you say that to Ethan? Like, I don't understand why you did that. Like, what were you thinking? Like, what do you think he's thinking after hearing something? Not that I would talk to my wife that way, but like, that's how people argue. Or my wife would come to me and be like, hey, I thought you were going to pay that one bill. I'm talking a lot about money today for some reason. Like, you didn't pay it. You said you were going to pay it. Why didn't you pay it? Can I not trust you to do anything? That's emotional, right? That's not necessarily logic. And when it's all said and done, 99% of all the other bills that I've ever paid are paid, right? I'm anal about that stuff. And my wife usually speaks fine to my kids. But here's the thing. We don't approach like that. The cube is a 4-step process. So it's observations, thoughts, feelings, and wants. This one will take me just a few minutes to get through, but I promise you it's gold. So observations are this. This is how you approach. Observations are what we both see. So like, for instance, you have a bunch of action figures in the background, correct, Chris?
I do.
So badass, by the way. So I just want to like be in your office for a while. Look at that.
You know what's
only
funny
one
is
wall.
you're seeing 10% of the office.
Oh, dear Lord. You're one of those guys.
It's
Okay.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
But Jared, can we both agree that there are action figures in the background, right?
I agree. Yes.
We agree. Do we agree?
He has seen them up
Right.
close.
Do we agree that there is a strong by design sign behind you, Jared?
I agree.
That's an observation. Okay, now
I concur.
I'm going to trip you up a little bit, and your ego is going to get in the way of this one, okay? Here's an observation. Is this an observation or an opinion? You have an awesome head of hair, Jared.
That's an observation. I know where you're going. I know where you're going.
Yeah. Right? So, but here's the thing. It can't be an opinion. It has to be an observation. It's something we clearly see, because someone might see your head of hair and be like, that's dumb. I don't know who that would be ever, because you have a cool head of hair, but it's an opinion, right? Someone might be like, dude, it would look really cool if you like grew a mullet. Like that would be a cool head of hair. So it's an opinion. So it's observations that we both agree on, period. Right? That's step number 1. Step number 2, let me ask you guys this question. When I was taught this skill, I was like, I don't know how to answer that. What's the difference between a thought and a feeling?
I like Chris's face right now.
Me too. He's deep and focused.
I was waiting to see if Jared was going to go
I don't know if
first.
that was an observation or what, but I definitely enjoyed Chris's face at that moment.
Good.
Is thought tied more to logic, where feelings are more tied to emotion?
That's about the best guess I have ever heard, because usually people are just like, they usually just like, I actually don't know. So here's the thing. And by the way, we screw this up all the time. And by the way, after I tell you how we screw this up, you guys will never unsee it. So it's like the red pill in the Matrix. Your life will never be the same. So here's the thing. A thought is a sentence and a feeling is a word. It's the biggest difference. Okay. So I think you have a great head of hair, right? That's a thought. When I see your head of hair, I feel envious, right? Because what I did is I stated my thought and then the feeling that I have associated with that thought, right? Which is one word. So thoughts are, and by the way, when we get to our thoughts, we own our thoughts. This is my thought. This is what I think. I am not saying you do this to me or anything like that. And by the way, I'm going to put this all together at the end. And a feeling, after we state our thoughts, after having those thoughts, I feel whatever it is. And then here's this one will unravel you. When I was arguing with Jessica, or like when I gave you that example, like why in God's name do you talk to Ethan like that? What the hell's going on? Why would you do that? Did I ever state how I felt about it? Did I ever state what I wanted her to do different? Think about the last time you were in an argument with someone and they stated very clearly, Chris, Jared, at the end of the day, this is what I want. Or do we never get there and we keep fighting for what we don't want and never state what we do want? You guys follow me so far?
Following.
Watch the next time you argue with someone or someone argues with you. Guaranteed they're going to come blasting after you with emotion. It's going to be unclear. They're going to say things like, I feel like you did this and I feel like you did that. That's the thing you're never going to unsee. It's not a feeling. That's a thought. I think you did this. I thought you did that. It's not, I feel like you got a great head of hair. That's not a feeling. That's a thought. I think you have a great head of hair. So you guys will never unsee that now. So here, let me give you a real world example. Okay. I'll talk about sex because that's the easiest thing for dudes to talk about. This is a real story. So a few years ago, Jess and I were intimate on the regular. It's great. It's awesome. There isn't usually a few days that don't go by that we're not. So a couple of years ago, we hit a snag in our relationship and like 3 months went by and I think we had sex like once a month. It was weird, really, really weird. Now, normally in our relationship, how I go about that is like, hey, can we talk? And by the way, never start never start conflict resolution like that, or be like, hey, do you have a minute? We need to talk. Or, hey, later on, can we talk when you get time? You might as well just tell the person, I'm really pissed at you and I want you to ruminate on it. And I want you to worry about everything that I'm going to come at you with. And until that time comes, you're just going to think about it. Like, how much defensiveness comes up when you approach somebody like that?
Yeah.
So instead, so here's how I approach my wife. Hey, like, I'm not really sure what's going on with us. Like, we're not really intimate lately. Like, things seem to be off. I don't know why. Like, am I doing something wrong? Like, have I done something wrong? Like, are you not attracted to me anymore? Like, I don't understand what the hell is going on. That's kind of how I would approach it, which is really horrible. Here's the cube. Hey, Jess. So I've noticed over the past couple months that our sex life and our intimacy has kind of dwindled to about once a month, give or take. And by the way, I'm saying that because she would concur. She knows that that's truth. Mm-hmm. And so that's the observation. The story that I'm telling myself, these are my thoughts. The story that I'm telling myself is, man, we're probably like really busy lately. The kids got a million things going on. The other story I'm telling myself is by the time we get to bed at night, we're exhausted. And quite frankly, we just don't want to go through the effort. And the other story I'm telling myself is, you've had the same dude for like 28 years and you're just tired of me. And that's the insecure dumb one right there. But that is something I'm thinking. I do that on purpose in conflict resolution because I want to break the pattern and I want her to smile, right? I want her to smile because when she smiles, she's going to come back. She's going to come to the conversation more willingly. Then I get to my feeling and I say, all kidding aside, when I have those thoughts, I do feel a little concerned about us because what I truly want is for us to be intimate more often. And when I say what I want, I go 3 layers deep of why. I want to be intimate more with you more often because when we're intimate more often, we just do better with life. We're better parents. We're more patient. We feel better about each other. We communicate better. And you know what? You're like my soulmate. You're my ride or die. And I just want to have an incredible relationship with you. Now, how do you think that went versus like, why aren't we having sex anymore? Is it me? Mm-hmm. Do you think my wife was like, gosh,
that didn't work. I just did that one last night and it didn't go down well.
It didn't. But all kidding aside, do you think Jessica's response in her mind was like, damn, yeah, I kind of want that too. Mm-hmm. Usually when we state what we want, a lot of times the other person is actually wanting that too. But here's the crazy thing about conflict resolution and using the cube. We never get there when we fight. We're just fighting about the thing that we don't want. Why aren't we having sex? Why aren't we having sex? Let's fight about it, right? Versus like, I just told you from my heart why I want this. Yeah. Her response is like, I can understand that. Yeah. And then suddenly that very night, here's how we came to a decision. Had nothing to do with her being unattracted to me. It came down to, we were exhausted at night. So we actually decided that night, 3 years ago, take sex off the table for nighttime, unless we really want to. And we're going to have day sex. And it's way better because we both like day sex better. So when we go to bed at night now, there's no pressure. We can just chill. We can talk. We can watch TV. It's great. And then we have sex during the day. But that conflict resolution came to a whole different solution that actually served our relationship much better.
Yeah, we talk all the time about when it comes to conflict resolution, especially in a marriage. It's you're a lot of times when you're in the middle of an argument, it's that me against you kind of thing, and so through that process that you just talked about, it's stepping out and saying, hey, you're not the problem, but we're recognizing what the problem is and how can we actually partner together to solve that problem together. So now it's us going hand in hand against the problem as opposed to feeling like it's me against you.
You nailed it. That's exactly what it is. It's us against this. It's not us against us.
Yeah. I've done a lot of marriage counseling, and that's one of the things that I talk about every single time. Awesome. Hey, look, you're going to have conflict. It's going to happen. You guys are in this thing together. Your partner's against the problem, not you are the problem.
Yeah, and it becomes adversarial in a lot of relationships, and even almost competitive in like a weird, demented way, right? Like you're competing with each other for like who's doing more stuff in the house and who does this better with the kids and who does more driving and who does, it's just like, we're not in competition. We're on the same team. We're teammates,
Can we talk a little bit about what the process is? Because when you're going into that, you're probably feeling emotion and you're having a lot of thoughts. So what is your process? I mean, because you said a lot of really good stuff there. I think a lot of specifically guys and probably girls too listening to that are going, man, I'm not going to think of all of that. How did you get to all? And, you know, as soon as you said 3 layers deep, I can hear people going, well, I don't know how to do that. So maybe talk about your process a little bit and how you get to that space. And also, yes, you don't want to set up this idea of, hey, next week sometime I want to talk to you about all the things that I'm mad at you about. Obviously, that's not good. But at the same time, what's the wisdom that you could give of when is the right time to have that conversation? I mean, it's probably not when she's in the middle of cooking dinner. There's probably, paying attention to what's the right time to actually have that approach.
It's a great question. So in my opinion, and this is the way we teach the cube is about 80% an internal conflict resolution skill and 20% external. And what I mean by that is I love the question you just asked because it really illustrates something that I kind of forget about, which is people are thinking like, how do I say this to somebody else? Mm-hmm. And the answer to that is you don't at first. You actually go through the cube yourself on the situation so you fully understand it. A lot of people, here's what I'll tell you, man. A lot of people have no clue what the hell they even want until they sit back and like, let me really think about what I want and why I want it, right? And so let's just take the sex thing for example, because I think it's an easy thing to talk about. I think a lot of women out there stereotype men is, well, they just want sex because they want to physically release and get off. Nothing's further from the truth. Sorry. It's not. If you talk to most men, that's a great bonus, but it sure isn't everything. Guys, actually, if you ask them, they'll be like, no, I want the connection. I want the experience. I want the shared love. I want the fact that I get to do this with her and she gets to do this with me and we don't do this with anybody else. Like, this is a really cool thing in our relationship that bonds us, right? It's way, way deeper than orgasms, right? So you have to, like, so for me, like, you ask yourself, like, well, what do I really want? Is it just a physical thing? It's actually, no, it's not. Maybe a little bit, but it's all those other things that I talked about. Like, hey, when we have intimacy more often, we're better parents. We're more patient. We communicate better. We have a better time together. Like, we have less tension and resentment in our relationship when those things are going on. That's why I want those things, right? It's all the things that actually happen outside the bedroom. So, but I got to get clear on that before I ever present it to her, because in that moment where I'm going through conflict resolution with her, my adrenaline's going, my fight or flight is on, and I can't think logically. So I actually have to go and think about how am I going to go have this conversation where I can be in a logical, mind space versus a highly triggered emotional space so I can think clearly. So that way, to answer your question, never, ever, especially if you're new to this, never do this for the first time in front of somebody. Do this for yourself so you're clear on what it is that you're thinking, what is you're feeling, and what the situation is. Then, after you're clear on it, you go. Now, to answer your question, yes, timing is huge. One of the other skills that I teach in that course is called creating an environment of psychological safety. Creating an environment of psychological safety is where someone can, it usually goes like this. Jared, I don't know what it is about you, but I feel like I can tell you anything. Mm-hmm. That's me feeling super comfortable with you, that no matter what I say to you, you're not going to judge me, you're not going to yell at me, you're not going to freak out. Like, you're a comfortable dude to talk to, right? Mm-hmm. That is what we want to convey to our kids. That's what we want to convey to our wives. And there's ways of doing that. Yeah. Voice tone is a big one, right? Mm-hmm. Even the position of our bodies. If you want to have a triggering conversation, go for a walk outside with your wife, hand in hand. Yeah. Don't stand nose to nose, toes to toes, because that feels more conflicting. So
my wife and I just had a conversation about how we just staring at each other's eyes gets really uncomfortable really quick for whatever reason.
It does.
It's like, I don't know which eye to look at. I don't know.
Right.
I'm looking at your nose right now.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, side by side is great.
Yeah.
Right. And then the delivery of it, and going into the conversation with this is key. I don't use the cube to bend her to my will. I don't do that. I don't use the cube as manipulation. I use the cube as a foundational tool of where am I at in this conversation right now so I know where I'm at, right? And how clear am I actually going back to the Squire where I'm barking orders and not really knowing what the hell I'm doing, at least with the cube, I'm like, okay, I know exactly where I'm at with this conversation and exactly what I want to say to her very, very clearly.
Yeah.
And
that
then,
gets you, go ahead. Sorry.
no, that's right. The last thing I'll say is this. In environments of psychological, when you can create an environment of psychological safety where your wife or your kids feel like I can tell dad or my husband anything and he's not going to freak out on me. That's an environment of psychological safety. When you use the cube, you're really leveraging that logic button and you're not leveraging so much the emotional button, which is actually going to keep you a little bit more calm. Mm-hmm. So does that answer your question?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, definitely making it safe to connect is huge.
Oh, yeah.
And also, I think taking the time to understand, like all of our temperaments are different, right? We're all wired a little bit differently. And so the thing that I feel like might be lacking or something that may be a little bit higher for me might not be the same for somebody else. And so becoming self-aware and helping to understand what is that underlying emotional need that's not being met or whatever it is, and being able to build off of that into that, and then being prepared. And again, that's a skill too, right? Like you're not gonna, the first time you try it, you're probably not gonna do it 100% right. I think it'd be really easy to come off almost like patronizing, like, hey, I'm just here to tell you, and kind of walking like that doesn't necessarily. So I think it's a skill that both sides can be working on, and that over time, it just becomes more natural. Because if we were all naturally good at communicating, we wouldn't have to take courses, right? Like that's we're learning how to do things well, and I think for most of us, it actually feels pretty unnatural at first.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah, and I like what you said there about it not being patronizing or the certain tonality. I think if you're trying to bend someone to your will, they're going to pick up on that. Mm-hmm. But so like when in conflict, here's the approach that I teach and the approach that I like to take. I like to tell you it's 100% of the time, but there are some arguments I want to go in and win. I'm not going to lie, there are. But for the most part, I go into conversations like this or conflict resolution with curiosity, because my wife, luckily, thank God, is a very logical person. She's actually very logical. Like she's emotional to some degree, but she's actually way more logical. So when it comes to conflict resolution, she'll be like, well, what about this? And what about that? And she always has these really fantastic things to sort of latch onto and think about, be like, I didn't think about that. That's a really good point. Let's talk about that. And then now you're in a conversation of exploring and not fighting.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, it's good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So for all of us dads out there, fathers, husbands, leadership is kind of a big deal, I think, to us, certainly in the workplace. What's it look like for men to lead well in their homes? What are some of the key... Hey-o, we love dogs here. We're a dog-friendly show. He's like, get the dog out.
Yeah, that's when I turn the gain down on my mic, obviously.
That's awesome.
One of my kids is home. So what does it look like to lead in the house?
Yeah. What are some of those key characteristics of a healthy father who is leading well in his home?
I think specifically that question is in a culture that is
in a culture that's leaning the other way.
We were even having a conversation about how even in like TV sitcoms, it seems like men are portrayed as morons. And either the children are the authority or the mom's the authority, but really dad and the father is kind of an idiot. And so how do we take on that role the way that we believe we believe strong by design. We believe it's God's design, not to be domineering, but to lead well and to have that service leadership and to take that role seriously. And so what does that look like as a father and as a husband?
I think the first thing you need to do is subscribe to the podcast Strong by Design and
of course,
gobble up as much content as you can on leadership. I think that's key. But I think it really boils down, and I don't want to sound cliche, but this is hard for a lot of guys. It's the hardest thing that we do. If you want to lead well, whatever life that you want your kids to go live it and show them what it's like. Mm-hmm. So like, you're never going to gain any credibility by telling your kid never to drink alcohol and you're throwing back 6 beers a night. It's not going to happen. You're never going to tell your kid, hey, you need to get stronger and faster if you're going to make the football team and you're 60 pounds overweight as a dad. You're never going to earn any credibility that way. I hate to break it to that, guys. And going back to the squire, okay, I want to give an example that Bedros gave. So there was a point halfway through the day where Bedros and the other SEALs took the dads into a room, and we had our own coaching moment. And then a couple of the other SEALs took the kids, and then they did a couple more physical evolutions. But Bedros sat us down and had one of the most uncomfortable conversations that I think I've ever been a part of. And luckily, I wasn't uncomfortable, but I could sense the discomfort. So Bedros, he's very well built. You know, he takes care of himself physically. His health and fitness is on point. And he looked around the room and he said this, and I was like, holy shit. So he said this. He goes, guys, I'm talking to all the dads. All the dads are in this room together. He's like, and we're halfway through this day, and I want to let you know that I've made some observations. There's a lot of really fit kids here. There's 30 kids here, and there's 30 dads here, and half of you guys are really fit, and half the kids are really fit. And you know what I really noticed? The fit kids have fit dads, and the fat kids have fat dads. If you want your kid to be fit, lose some weight. And I was like, oh. I mean, I was sitting there, I was like, thank God I'm one of the fit ones. And, but like, here's what I'll tell you. I mean, your kids are going to follow suit. So if you don't want your kids to drink, don't drink. If you don't want your kids to do drugs, don't do drugs. If you want your kids to be fit and work out, as soon as we're done with this podcast, I'm heading to the gym with my 19-year-old. We work out together. You know, I'll go to the gym with my 17-year-old. On Saturdays, I work out with my 12-year-old. So like, you've got to walk the walk and talk the talk. And I'll tell you, man, like, I am not trying to sound like some sort of prophet or preaching from a pulpit. I was the worst dude. Worst when it came to this. Like, and my kids would tell me that. They'd be like, why are you telling me to eat healthy and you eat terrible? Like, why are you telling me not to drink and you're drinking beer? Like, they would say stuff like that. So I think the best thing you can do is lead by example. Second thing is this. Many of us who are parents, that's our focus. And we somehow, some way lose sight that we're married. Or that one just gets put on the back burner because she'll always be there or he'll always be there. And then they start to leave the nest and are like, who's she? I don't even know who that is anymore. Right? One of the best gifts that we can give our kids is prioritize your marriage over your kids. I know that sounds crazy. My wife comes before my children. And they know that. I know that sounds mean, but what I'm talking like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction.
No, I get it.
You know, and I'm not saying it's like,
sorry guys, your mom's just
I think
a
you're
little
preaching
bit
to the
more
choir
important.
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little, but no, I'm with you.
But here's why I think it benefits sons, right? A young man needs an example of a good man who knows how to love his wife, knows how to love his mom, right? He needs to see that, right? Because that's what he's going to do. He's like, okay, I'm taking notes. That's what I need to do. I need to communicate. I need to use the cube when I'm going through conflict resolution. I need to be loving. I need to be respectful. I need to do this, do that, right? Here's the thing about daughters. I don't have daughters, but I would love to have one because we get the opportunity to set the standard so high for these knuckleheads that want to come and knock on our door and take these girls out. By the time these girls are 16 years old, if you've done the right things, you've taken them out on these daddy-daughter dates, they've seen how you treated your mom, it's going to take one date with these knuckleheads and they won't want nothing to do with it again. Right. So we got this tremendous opportunity as dads of daughters to weed out all the losers by you just holding that bar as high as you can, by loving by loving her mom as best you can, and you treating that daughter like she is absolute gold, like you are after that girl's heart, and everybody else is going to take a back seat who comes knocking. I truly believe that.
Yeah, Dr. Meg Meeker is,
love her.
You know who she is, right?
Yeah.
And she's phenomenal. And Mike, the owner of Critical Bench, and he's been a huge fan of hers for years, has read several of her books, and I have at this point now too. And she was on our podcast, and she said that. She said when she would, she's a pediatrician for 30 plus years.
Right.
And she would have these conversations with these kids, and they would, talk lovingly and openly about their mothers and stuff. but she's like, I'd get two reactions when I'd ask girls about their dads, or even older women about their dads. Is they would either gush about their dad, like couldn't say enough amazing things, or they would break down and start crying. Because that's how meaningful that relationship is to a little girl.
I agree.
You're her first love. You're the first man in her life, and like we have such an opportunity. So you said it well. For a guy who doesn't have girls, you get it, obviously. Yeah. So it's very powerful.
So true.
That's good.
I always call that the monkey see, monkey do model.
Yeah,
you know.
It's good.
It's just
I like that.
It's funny to me watching our kids and all the things that we think that we're trying to teach them, and yet, like my 13-year-old is me as a 13-year-old. It's almost scary. It hopefully as a dad and the things that I knew that I struggled with, I can help prepare him better for those things and break some of that generational sin that comes in. But man, that's really good. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Does your 13-year-old have a mustache like you?
No, but I couldn't grow a mustache till I hit like 35. So
Same here.
Yeah. So he's actually, my wife's family's really tall, and he like has big feet already, and so I'm really hopeful that he'll get some of them height genes at least. And half of her family's has nice beards and stuff too. So, and actually, when I started trying to grow a beard, my dad grew a beard, and I was like, "Are you just doing this to mess with me? And like to show your down?" And he's had a beard ever since. So it's just like, whatever, Dad.
I like your dad.
His dad. Oh my gosh, yeah. His dad is Jared in 30 years for sure. Potentially. Yeah. I've only been around him a few times. But it wouldn't be fair, Jared, if you could grow a very thick, like Steve's our other video production guy here, and he grows very thick facial hair, very thick. Mm-hmm. But Jared has been betrothed?
Yeah.
Bestowed.
I have hair up top.
With this great head of hair. And if you had the facial hair to match, it would be almost just unfair.
I don't know.
You'd be hated by most.
I'm saying, I just learned that you can put hair on top. I'm just curious.
You can do that.
Here's the thing: is like, I'm okay with I don't have like a hairy back. Some of these kinds of things where I'm like, you know what? It's a give and take kind of deal.
You're right. Yeah. You're right.
That's so true.
There are a lot of good benefits of not being super hairy. Well, hey, how did we always? It always comes back to hair. It's so funny on this show. How many times we talk about hair?
And that's what Kirk Cameron said. The first thing that Kirk Cameron said. I think he commented on. I don't know. It might have been on my mustache as well. So
yeah, he had a beard at the time himself, and that was fun. Well, Larry, dude, we have so much more to talk with you about, but let's not wait 5 years to bring you back on the show. Obviously, you're just a phenomenal guest, and have learned so much. In the last 10 plus years of running your podcast and your platforms can you please share with our listeners some of the events that you have coming up and some of the ways that they can find you and listen to you and take in more of your content?
For sure. So for those of you guys, we talked a little bit about daughters. This actually might be a great opportunity to tell you guys that we're doing something that I haven't seen anyone else do, but that doesn't mean no one else has done it. I'm sure somebody else has done it at some point, but I searched for like a daddy-daughter retreat out there. I could not find one. So we decided a year ago we're doing one. And so June 6th through the 8th in Hurricane, Utah. If you got a daughter between the ages of 11 and 17 and you want to connect with her and make something memorable to where like literally 50 years from now on your deathbed, she will remember it and so will you. That's what we're going to be doing. We are going to take you and your daughter and we are going to put you through some exercises that are going to completely and totally unite you and make an unbreakable relationship for decades to come. That is what we're going to do. So you can go check that out if you go to thedadedge.com/daddy-daughter. Again, thedadedge.com/daddy-daughter, June 6th through the 8th. We have one more spot. If you see If you go to that landing page and you see that you can still buy one, that means that spot's still open. If you see it sold out, that means we sold it. But we have one more spot.
Sorry. Chris and I will be battling it out.
There you go. If you guys both want to come, we'll make room for one more. Don't worry. Mm-hmm. But if that's the case, we are sold out if these two come. But everything that we're doing can be found at thedadedge.com. So you can follow, everything's the same. YouTube channel, The Dad Edge, Instagram, The Dad Edge. I post things every single day, every day in my story, just trying to share some inspiring things, just one or two things you can do on a daily basis that are super simple, that'll move the needle in those relationships that mean so much to you. That's where you can find me.
Fantastic. Man, that's awesome. What a pleasure, truly, to have you back. And thank you for making time. I know you have a very busy podcast lineup, I'm sure, yourself. So to make time to be on our show means a lot.
Oh, it means a lot to be a guest. I mean, you guys got a huge show. I appreciate being asked again. What an honor. You guys put all your heart and soul in this.
It's been a lot of fun, man. Jared, thanks for being part of it, too. I knew you'd have so much to add to it.
Appreciate you.
Yeah,
glad to be
here. You, man.
Appreciate you both.
Listeners, that's it. Please share this episode with a friend or family member who could benefit, who needs to hear this message today from Larry, and to step up their game a little bit in their homes as fathers, as husbands. A lot of great truths and wisdom shared today on the episode, and we thank you for coming back and for being a supporter of the Strong by Design podcast. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, to leave us a rating and review anywhere where you listen to the show and our content. We love you. God bless you, and we'll talk to you next time. Thank you so much for listening to the Strong by Design podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe so that more people can find out about our show. Plus, you don't want to miss any future episodes with the amazing guests and topics we have lined up for you.